All right, we're gonna kick off. I know I'm having a blast. Last session was awesome. I'm sure Anatomy of a Breach was awesome as well. So we're gonna keep it going. We're gonna be focusing on the cloud in this next session, and then just a heads up, the last session here is gonna be all about AI. Diving into some really cool technology. And then next door as well, Miles Ward, who, if you've taken the AWS certification class, he's written like 2/3, if not like all of those questions in there. The guy's an absolute genius. He moved over to Google and is one of their top people running how Google Cloud Platform is built out. So either session is going to be absolutely stellar. So as kind of a good segue into both of those topics in a sense, we're going to dive into cloud with Matt Rotkis, and let's begin.
All right. Hi. Hi. Oh no, go on. No, really, just go on. I appreciate that. Excellent, excellent. I haven't written any books. I haven't met with the many CIOs of Fortune 500 companies. I haven't done a lot of the things that a lot of the speakers that you guys saw this morning have. Okay. That being said, I do spend every day meeting with our partners at Dell EMC. I spend time with our office of the CTO. I spend time with our product group. I do field education, and I certainly go out and meet with customers routinely. This is a great opportunity to come to Evolve. Trace 3, really embodies a lot of, what the Dell EMC message is, and it's not just something that some really smart marketing people came up with in Round Rock, Texas. It's really based on, what our customers say. So when we think of all of the factors that Mark and Gene and John and everybody have been talking about today, they're not trying to make anybody here afraid. They're trying to raise awareness. They're trying to show that, there's a path forward, and there are things that we can do to advance our businesses, right? I meet with customers all the time, and they're like, "Hey, really nice to meet you. We're a Dell shop," and I'm like, "No, man, we're a Dell shop. That's what we do. But you're in the business of making ball bearings, or you're in the business of shipping things, or you're in the business of making, fine alcoholic beverages for everybody." Right? So that's what you're in the business of, and the ways that you can affect it are changing, right? Just the session 2 before this, I watched a nice woman from HPE talking about, how if we don't service the business in a way that they ask us to, they are going to go and look somewhere else, right? And the place where they're going to look is to the cloud, with or without us, right, as IT professionals. So why is the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, right? They're bigger than Bank of America. They're bigger than Citi, right? Why are they afraid of software startups, right, in Silicon Valley? Why are they afraid of, a couple of guys with an application platform delivering something to everybody's phone, whether they have an iPhone or an Android or what have you, right? It's because they realize that they need to maintain being on the cutting edge, right? Because they need to change their business model to meet that which their customers are looking for because of this Internet of Me, right? The ability to curate my own experience. When we go on the Facebook, believe me, my Facebook does not represent who I am at all. It's a much kinder, gentler, wonderful person, right? But that's not me. I'm arrogant and rude, and I smell like beets, right? But you can't see that because I don't project that. I've curated that experience for other people. I tell them what I want them to think, and I curate my experience of other people as well. And that's what customers are bringing to our businesses. They're saying, I want the things that I love about you, and the things that I don't care about you, I don't want those anymore. they're totally and completely manufacturing that. And that's why, that's what's disrupting everything. And there's not a single industry that is immune to this. The largest taxi service in the world owns how many cars? 0, right? That's Uber. The largest provider of lodging in the world owns how much property? 0, right? Oh my gosh. That is absolutely ridiculous to think that they're the largest and they don't own anything. What they own is intellectual property, and they allow their customers to curate that experience, right? To choose what I want, when I want, and the way that I want it, right? And to provide feedback on that so that the next time I go to get something, I get it the way I want as well. So think about that and think about how that applies to what it is your business does and what are the things that you can do to help affect it. We just watched a whole session on virtual and augmented reality. And, I sit there and I think that is exactly the kind of thing that's very important. And we're struggling with, man, I love it. I think it's super cool, but how does that apply to me? And so maybe we don't think of something right away, but somebody else is, right? And so we have to be aware of that and accepting of these kinds of ideas. Because what drives the differentiation is the applications, right? A lot of people love to accuse me of being a hardware company, and I'm more than happy to accept that, right? But the reality is that, the kind of hardware, the kind of tin that I've got sitting in a data center, regardless of whether it's my data center or somebody else's data center, is unimportant. It's that the way that we consume that and what we create with those resources to empower the business is what's really the differentiating factor, right? And so, again, this is driving home the idea that, it's not the infrastructure that's really important, it's how I provide access to that and the way it's consumed. Now, this is all really great stuff, and everything we've been talking about so far is very forward-focused. The reality is that there's a long tail to this. And in that, right, we still have traditional applications. Who's still going to have the same applications that they've had for the past 15 years, probably for the next 5 to 10 years? Right? They're not going away. They are going to be modernized, but the infrastructure that they run on is also going to be modernized, right? We have to optimize that because the way we're doing it now, this legacy approach, it's expensive to maintain. We spend too much time keeping the lights on. And because we focus so much on that, new applications are delivered far too slowly. And if we're unable to provide the access to it, right, the developer comes to us and they say, I need 4 web servers, I need 2 application servers, I need a relational database, and I need these users to have access. Give that to me. What do we usually say in IT? Hold on a second. Fill out that request form, right? And we've got to get more servers. We need more storage. We have to back that stuff up. We have to institute our security policy, right? We're the no police, and we're doing it for the right reasons, right? We're saying, hey, we've got to provide the security and all this that goes along with it. But that application developer says, oh, hold on a second. Oh, look, I'm doing it in Azure. Oh, I've got AWS over here. They don't care, right? They're going out and doing it. So, yeah.
Hi, guys. My name is Tim Benner. I'm with Trace3. And typically, what Matt's talking about, what we see with a lot of our customers, too, just out there in the market space, when we're talking about applications being delivered too slowly, we're seeing timelines for either upgrading services, updating services, or even building new services that take anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months. And that just quantifies what you're saying about applications, new applications, or even new services are too slow because you have change control, you have security processes, you have all those things and all those check boxes that you need to scratch off. And that just kills the ability for any customer or enterprise to actually deliver a reliable service on time.
Absolutely. Empirical evidence. I love it. And so what happens is if you're slow to innovate, you may not survive. In the past 20 years, what's happened to half of the Fortune 500? They've either been acquired, they've gone out of business altogether, or they've fallen far below the line and they're almost irrelevant, right? Kind of like a regular taxi service. It's like, man, how do I get a taxi around here? Do I call them up? Oh no, Uber, and the guy's going to be here in 3 minutes, right? So don't innovate, you won't survive, or you may not survive in the way that you expect. So this is where it's important to think about, hey, we have to optimize the traditional applications and application infrastructure that we have. And we have to drive innovation to new applications and give the access to that in the manner that our company expects. What's that delivery model? What do they expect?
Expected yesterday.
Does it rhyme with loud?
Cloud.
Right? It rhymes really closely with it because it's cloud, right? And I could ask everybody in here and I could take you out individually and have all of you give me your definition of cloud, and I would come back in and I would put it all up on a huge whiteboard here, but then I would have to extend it around there because every single person would have a different definition. But that's because cloud isn't a place, cloud isn't a thing, cloud is an operating model. And the future that we see is that you're going to have multiple clouds, right? Amazon's not going to own everything. Google's not going to be able to do everything that you want the way that you need it to. Your own cloud and your own data center may not have the scale and things like that you require all the time. And so knowing that I'm going to have multi-cloud, how do I manage across that?
Also for the cloud stuff and multi-cloud, it also comes into the aspect of not only who can provide what, when, and where, but it also comes down to who do you trust. There's the security model. Do you trust Amazon security? Do you trust Google's? Do you trust those? And how much of your eggs do you want to put in one basket, and where are you going to put those things? So a lot of times when we talk to customers, it's either one cloud or multiple clouds, or it's partially private and cloud based on the business and what applications can be moved to the cloud.
Absolutely. So this is where you have to make the decision, right? Is where you draw the line in the sand and you say, this is how much we're going to invest in differentiating, right? In becoming a strategic asset for the business instead of just being, another cost center, right? The company has to pay for its copiers and paper. They have to pay their electric bill. They got to pay their water bill and all that stuff. Oh, and we have to pay the IT bill for all that old-fashioned stuff that we have. But the rest of the budget goes to the lines of business that are asking for these new things, right? And IT can be the delivery mechanism for that to give structure, to give governance, to give reliability, and to give security to that overall environment, and reduce the amount of time that you spend keeping the lights on. All right. So by modernizing, you reduce your traditional application infrastructure TCO, you accelerate innovation, and you do that in a couple of ways, right? And I don't want to talk about specific products, right? But I want to talk about them in a way that that enables this cloud consumption model and normalizes the experience to make it easier, right? That's the thing is, man, once I learn one kind of thing, it's really hard to teach me to go and do the same kind of thing somewhere else, but in a completely different way. And so what Microsoft has done is they've said, man, everybody loves Azure, but not everybody is going to run everything in Azure. It's a great admittance. But man, I'm really interested in having continuity of experience. So what they're doing is they're driving the same experience that customers have in Azure into the data center. And so that same Azure Resource Manager console that customers are used to, the same portal that is, PowerShell scripts, the DevOps tools that they're using today, all the things in terms of infrastructure as a service to platform as a service, Microsoft Team Services for developers, all those kinds of things are going to be available in your data center real soon now.
Matt, where would you see some of the use cases? I know for me, what I see in some of the use cases is if I'm a customer and I don't trust the cloud or I want to kind of play with the cloud, when I have the Azure stack in my own data center that's bringing the Azure cloud down and I'm going to do dev, QA, and test, what other types of environments might you think of?
So that's a really good question, especially when we consider, well, why am I using the cloud instead of what I have? Well, what I have today isn't set up for cloud operations. And yeah, I can bolt stuff on top of it, but then I'm spending more time managing the tools that help me manage my infrastructure to make it more usable, right? That's a no-win situation. We want to simplify things. So what Azure Stack does is it gives this capability to do iterative things, the things that I can't do today that are only available, in the cloud or via me implementing another environment in my own data center. So I want security. I want practical, iterative workloads in this environment that I can spin up and spin down at will, right? That's what the developers want. That's what Gene was talking about many more deployments, right? Failing faster and being able to catch things. And then if my ultimate target is to have that running broadly in Azure, well, now I've used the right resource in the right way for both instances, and I've normalized my operation across both of them. Does that make sense? Right? I think it does. And a lot of the customers that I've spoken to that use Azure are very, very excited about it.
It brings true cloud consumption actually into the customer's brick and mortar database or data center as well. So at Trace3, and this is probably a Trace3 plug, but I'm not a sales guy, I'm not a pretty face, but we're actually doing stuff like this right now. We're also partnering with data centers like Equinix and other people to actually offer these services in other than customer data centers, based data centers. So
for a curated environment via your partner, yep. Right? Another thing that we've been talking about, whether it's Gene or the other sessions, is if our focus is on providing platforms for development, and what I want to do is get those things in the hands of those developers quickly and iteratively, then there are all these great tools out there. But again, what's the problem with these is that, well, I can build my own car, and my father-in-law did a few years ago, and I drove it one time, and I never drove it again after that because it was horribly unsafe. Yeah, it was fast, but the brakes weren't so good, and it did have kind of a little, so it was exciting but terrifying at the same time. That's what can happen with this. And these are great tools. Make no mistake, this is awesome stuff, but now you're responsible for this, right? You build it, you own it. We heard that earlier. Do you want that? Right? Or do you really just want to provide a platform that I can deploy anywhere? Because if you do buy into Azure, or you do buy into Amazon, or you do buy into Google, and they make it really easy for you to do certain things, what do they also make it really hard to do? Make it hard to get out, right? And not by design, totally by design, I think. But it's so attractive, right? It's so easy. That, well, why would I ever get out? And then you get that bill and you're like, oh my God, I totally have to get out. And you'll go through all sorts of gyrations to make it happen.
Matt, can I steal your thunder for a second?
Thunder stolen, consider it done.
So you saw all those tools up there, and I'm actually the tools guy in the cloud practice with Trace3. I'm the director of cloud technology
services. Did you just
services.
say you're a tool?
I'm a tool, yes, I'm a tool. But from the aspect, when we went back to that one slide you had where it showed traditional apps and new apps, I'll go up on stage with you.
Okay, we'll go.
Is that
This
okay?
isn't awkward at all.
Can you guys see me now? And what I want to talk about from the tool standpoint, when we had that other pretty slide up there, by the way, I'm bad at slides, where you have your traditional apps, your new apps. We talked about that runtime of putting new services, new applications in from where you're going from, 3 days to 3 months. Whether Azure, Google, or whoever owns the service, if you have these tools and you use these tools correctly, you can reduce that time from 3 days, 3 months, down to 3 minutes. And that's what you really want to do in a true DevOps cycle, true cloud automation, provisioning for services, because that allows you to bring services to your customers as fast as possible. And so, you want to use these tools, want to use them right to get you where, or if you just stick with the cloud providers and use what they have, that's a process you want to think about and work on and do. Thank you. I just wanted to
No problem. But if what you want to do is normalize your experience across clouds, right? Cloud Foundry is an open source cloud native platform for your developers, right? Including all the components required for deployment, for management, for logging, for all the things that are required there. And what we've done is we've operationalized it. Because when software is open source, who do you call when you need help with it? Google. Wait, no, you don't, right? You get on a listserv and you say, hey man, this is, or you make you submit a bug, right? You do that kind of stuff. And you're like, this isn't working quite the way I think it should. And then some guy like him probably goes and they go, oh yeah, here, let me fix that. Yeah, and now it works, right? But that's not sustainable. So we have a curated version of the same thing, right? Something that is supportable, right? Red Hat Linux is supportable. Slackware Linux is not, right? So think of that the same way. And because this is a software platform, it doesn't care where it lives. It doesn't care if it lives on Hyper-V in your data center, or on VMware, or on OpenStack, or in Amazon, or the Googleplex, or Azure. It does not care. So if you develop your applications based on this platform, you can make the decision about where you run the platform so that you can gain an advantage in the market, so that you can get data locality based on where your storage is optimized, so that you can get the best cost of service available to you based on the SLA that you require. Or you can run it in your own data center, right? Oh yeah, totally in your own data center. So, what I'm trying to show here is that, again, the future is going to be multi-cloud. The future is already multi-cloud. And what we want to do first is we want to optimize the applications that we have today, the legacy applications and the infrastructure that they run on, simplify my environment, and then move from keeping the lights on to providing access to the resources in the way that the business needs to get new applications out there so that they can modernize and provide the kinds of things that customers are looking for in the way that those customers want to build that environment for themselves. All right? I think that's it. There's one more. No, I don't care about that. Oh, there we go. Right. So I'll just leave that last slide up. Questions, commentary. Do you believe me? Am I speaking falsehoods? I'm a tremendous liar, but I don't think I did today. Did I? No? You can't prove it.
No, well, you said that you were going to sell product, but I see Dell all over the place. Okay.
Well, I don't know. There we go. Yes, sir.
One second. Here, I'll get you.
Thanks. Do they plan on supporting like services like HD Insight within this offering, or is there going to be a limited amount of services that you get when you do like an on-premise deployment of like Azure?
So for Azure Stack.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good question. So in Azure, Microsoft has about 100 billion servers, right? They've got scale and stuff like that that doesn't exist in your own data center. And when Azure Stack goes GA, it's going to be limited in its scale and in the services that are offered. Their plan is to, within the scale available, to make as many services available. So HD Insight can be one of those. At GA, I don't believe that is one of the things that you can do.
Okay.
But it is a pure subscription. It is, not even a subscription model for Azure Stack. It is a consumption-based model. So maybe I'm not doing it today because it's not available as a feature, but they're going to iterate it along the way and introduce new features and functionality, just like they do in Azure, right? You log into Azure, into the Azure Resource Manager, and there's a little thing that's kind of glowing over here. It's got a little light, and you go, oh, what's that? Because it wants you to do that. And you click on it and it says, hey, look, I'm new, right? I'm Clippy, and use me, right? And that's the same kind of thing that's going to happen in Azure Stack. So it's not, deploying a hypervisor and the servers and the storage and the management tools and all that. It is an appliance. Roll it in, plug it in, turn it on, and do some configuration and connect it to your Azure portal, and you're ready to go. So maybe not available to, that's a long answer to a no, soon. All right?
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Nobody else wants a long, complicated answer to a yes or no question? I can do it. All right. Aha! That was a little loud, wasn't it? Sorry. Not sorry. Louder. Try it again.
Try it again. There we go. Hadn't heard about Virtuous Stream before, but just seeing that it's a EMC company, how does it all sort of stack up to NSX and vRealize and where that's going? Is it compatible or just a different way of doing it?
So from a VMware perspective, I can certainly do VMware in VirtuStream. So VirtuStream, think about an SLA-driven, curated, private public cloud experience for you that's built for you as a customer. So yes, VMware can certainly be part of that. The other thing is, VMware is saying, hey, we've got a partnership with Amazon now. You want to get hardware in Amazon? And that's really what they're doing, is providing hardware in Amazon running VMware that now I can consume in a way that I want. So I can have that consumptive billing in a way that I'm already used to. You're also going to see that, Tim, help me out. What's the other one where they're doing? They're doing it somewhere else too. It's awesome. I promise.
We were too busy talking.
Oh, how'd that go? You guys learn anything? So VirtuStream is a curated cloud experience for business analytics and things like that. It should be something like that should be part of your strategy. Make no mistake, Trace3 and guys like this help build that experience for you with whichever provider you want to use. And from a VirtuStream perspective, this guy, go ahead, talk yourself up.
So from a virtual stream perspective, I built their FedRAMP offering, and I also helped design some of their data centers. So you have questions, I can answer them. I also own most of the VMware stuff within Trace3 and the cloud experience. So vRealize, whatever you want to talk about, just come look me up, we can talk about it.
Yeah, and if you have stuff in VirtuStream and it isn't working, it's probably his fault.
I probably am.
Can I join you?
I don't know what you're doing up here.
I'm here to interrupt you. So I just want to do an introduction. So I'm your dedicated sales engineer from Dell. So I just got assigned to your guys' count. So that's the good news. And I cover you nationwide. So I'll be standing in the back when we're done. You can grab business cards. All Trace3, which means I cover all of your customers, right? So. You did the prezo, not me, so thanks for letting me interrupt.
Oh, of course. It's not the first time. Anyone else? Anyone else? Hey guys, I know it's been a long day, and I know a lot of this has been. Maybe it seems repetitive. I think that illustrates how important this stuff is, right? This isn't an Inigo Montoya moment where we keep saying this thing and it does not mean what we think it means. No, digital transformation, modernization, all this stuff is very, very real and very, very important. And we're here with Trace 3 to help you get there, right? All right, that's all I've got. I'll let you guys get as much rest as you can.